Have you wondered if there are any well-defined stages in the insomnia recovery journey? There are. We have 4 stages in our framework: Oz, Yo-Yo, Seedling, and Immunity. In this episode, we're going to look at what they are, how you can see where you are on the journey, and how you can move forward so you arrive where you want to be, which is a place of peaceful sleep and peace of mind. Welcome to this Insomnia Insight episode. I'm really excited to share these stages with you. I'm kind of surprised we haven't done this episode so far. This was actually prompted by Muhammad, and this is Muhammad who submitted a comment that was featured in yesterday's Mining the Comments episode. And Muhammad did ask if there are any stages on the recovery journey, so you can get a sense of where you are and how to move forward. And in fact, I developed these stages for our Insomnia Immunity program so that currently the curriculum is built in a way that the first month is designed to take you from Oz to Yo-Yo, and the second month, Yo-Yo to Seedling, and the third month, Seedling to Immunity. Now, of course, it's a membership. You can join anytime you want. You can graduate anytime you want. And there's no it's not expected that it will take 3 months to take this journey. It can take less time. It can take more time, but it's designed in this way to give you a sense of where you are and to give you some practical tips in terms of where to go next and what to study next and how to approach the next step, etc. So yeah, although in the membership it's a little bit more granular, more specific, but I'm going to share the outline here so that you can, you also can, get a sense of where you are and how to move forward. And what I discovered in preparing for this was that this befriending 2.0 concept or idea that you can learn more about in this Insomnia Insight episode 571, where we're no longer thinking of befriending simply as a version of exposure, so to make that a little bit tangible. When I started to teach on befriending wakefulness, I thought of it mostly as the exposure part, where instead of trying to escape wakefulness, we see the invitation to be willing to meet it. But I kind of expanded on that to this broader idea of befriending in 3 levels. So befriending, let's say level 1 is just intellectual understanding that there is no threat. Level 2 is that exposure part, and level 3 is befriending oneself or self-kindness. And in preparing for this episode, I was like, wow, that really fits with these stages, and you'll see why in a second. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. The first stage is actually the baseline stage, if you will, which we call Oz. And when we're in Oz, that's a place where we're really confused. We don't understand what's going on. We're frustrated. We're anxious. We're in this whirlwind of emotion, right? We're kind of clueless and helpless, and we don't know. We're grasping at straws, but nothing is helping. This is very difficult place to be in. Of course, for the reason we just talked about. So this is Oz, and this is the baseline stage from which your journey begins, if you will. And how does it begin? How do we meet this Oz stage and move forward? This is where befriending at the first level comes in. This is just intellectually, logically, cognitively understanding what's been happening by studying our way. And for example, this is about understanding the cycle of insomnia, understanding that insomnia happens when being awake at night has been tokenized. When we start to think of that as a threat, and that leads to the mind being in a threatened state, which keeps us awake, etc., etc. Understanding the timeless way and how it can be really helpful to no longer track time overnight, for example. Understanding what sleep efforts are, seeing that there's no evidence that insomnia causes any health issues, logically, intellectually understanding what has happened to you and that there's no real threat. That is I think, the key to starting the journey. And that takes us from Oz, from this place where we're completely bewildered, have no clue what's going on, really scared, to the next phase, which is the yo-yo stage or yo-yo phase. And in the yo-yo stage, we have understanding now. We're starting to see that there is no real threat, and we have moments of like peace of mind, and we're sleeping well, and we have days that are easy and light. But the brain has been thinking that we're threatened for a long time, and that's not going to go away quickly. That kind of like reptilian, like the subconscious mind, the part that is not directly, accessible to us cognitively, it has been really scared, right? So there will be moments where it gets us convinced again, or gets itself convinced again that there is a threat, and we go back into like really struggling and having a hard time. And the yo-yo stage is about like things go back and forth like this: ease, difficulty, ease, difficulty. And if we already did the kind of the befriending 1.0, like we have the kind of intellectual cognitive understanding. So how do we meet the yo-yo stage? Well, here we can see that befriending at that second level really, really is going to help us. And this is when we learn not so much intellectually, cognitively, but more emotionally, or call it subconsciously, by leaving the attempts at escaping, right? So this is more of exposure. And the key thing here, I think, is that when we hear exposure, just like hearing befriending, it sounds like active, or have to do something, I have to do something now. But in fact, exposure is just another way of saying that we now, instead of trying to escape, we now allow whatever unpleasant experience we've tried to escape to happen without us trying to avoid it or evade it or get away from it or fight it. So just to be practical here again, it's like when we find ourselves awake at night and we're anxious, instead of being like, oh, what can I do to sleep? What can I do to get rid of my anxiety here? Like, this is unpleasant, but I can be with this. I can sit with this. I can allow this to happen while just resting, or while reading a book, or while just intently allowing, or whatnot. But this is what we also call acceptance, or non-doing, or tolerance, or exposure, or anything that again describes how we are no longer exerting effort to escape. This is the befriending second level, which really helps us to go from intellectually understanding, cognitive understanding, to understanding at a deeper level. Now, this takes us to what we call the seedling phase. And this is like, imagine like you planted a little seed, and it will just take a little time before that seed becomes a plant, and just like we can provide, fertile soil and water this little seed, there's nothing we can do to rush it forward. It will just take a bit of time. So seedling is a place where like the struggle has settled down, but things are not like before. There may be still humming anxiety in the background. We may still have little speed bumps here and there. It's overall more quiet, but it's not like before, And how do we meet this stage? This is where befriending at the third level comes in, which is all about befriending what we often think of as the root of our problems, which is ourselves. We're often like, why can't I get this? What's wrong with me? Why am I not there yet? I've been studying so hard. I've been doing this. Why can't I get over this? Which looks like open-ended, exploratory questions that ask for an answer, but really just are versions of like self-criticism, of pressuring ourselves, being harsh with ourselves. And oftentimes in this like seedling phase, we're like, oh man, I've done, I've learned, I've exposed myself, I've done all this, but things are not easy still, Self-kindness is going to really, really help. And again, what we talked about, like it's just like a plant. It will just take some time before it grows, and we can't rush that. Let time pass without playing the waiting game. That's the tricky thing here, is that sometimes we can be like, oh, I've done everything, and now I just have to wait till I sleep well. I just have to wait till the anxiety goes away, and then the waiting becomes kind of like an active thing. It becomes actively waiting, monitoring, like assessing time, seeing where we are, and that can be tricky. So it's kind of like about letting time pass without actively waiting. And this leads us to the final the final phase, or the final stage, which is immunity. And this is a phase where like the struggle is over, the dust has settled, things have gotten easier for us, right? And we're starting to feel like ourselves again. The struggle starts to appear like in the rear view mirror, right? Now, this doesn't mean that we'll never feel anxious again, or we'll never ever have a choppy night, or we won't even have like some kind of like steps, kind of like mini steps into like a bit of a struggle again, right? That can happen. Like, we're all human. We all get frazzled sometimes. But the difference is we cannot unsee what we have seen. We cannot unlearn what we have learned. We will never go back to a place of Oz. We will never go back to a place where we're just like grasping at straws and trying this and that and not understanding at all. So, we're immune from going like back into that place of like the ongoing self-reinforcing struggle that we landed in because we just didn't have any understanding. It just happened through no fault of our own, just because we tried to help ourselves, but we didn't know how, right? And that is the state of immunity. Now, I just realized I was preparing for this stage that maybe the recovery journey is over here, but sometimes or I'll put it this way: once we started to look inside and kind of study our own human mind and our own emotions and our thoughts and our reactions and our responses, like it's like the third eye has awakened, right? And I'll say, you don't close that again. Like, once you've seen that, it becomes a journey of self-exploration that lasts for a lifetime, and that's a wonderful thing, because I think it just brings another like we see life in a different way, a very interesting and fascinating way. But I think it's also practical, because we will not find ourselves kind of mindlessly falling into another version of the struggle, because we have this awareness now. So I'll conclude here. I hope this was really helpful. Let me know in the comment section, and look forward to seeing you next time. Hi, it's me, Daniel, and I hope you really found a lot of value in the video you just saw. Now I have a question for you. Did you hit the like button? Did you leave a comment? If not, then please consider that, because that is what leads to people finding us, finding peaceful sleep and peace of mind, and feeling like themselves again, and all the other wonderful things that come from understanding what insomnia is really all about. So yes, just hit that like button, leave a comment, and that will help so much. Thank you.